Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in NACS. This Week in NACS is here to tell us stories of our scene, spotlighting the players, teams, and tournaments that make North American Counter-Strike special week by week. This week's headlines include the major recap up to the playoffs, the final ESL Impact Finals, RIP, in the NA Dust 2 Masters Tournament, which is a very fun tournament going on in NA, kind of alongside the major. At first, I wasn't sure how I felt about that, but it actually works out really nicely how they sort of line up and complement each other. First things first, I want to dive in on the final Impact. So as we know, ESL Impact announced like a month or maybe even 2 months at this point ago that this was going to be for the foreseeable future the final ESL Impact event. Very unfortunate. It's they've done a lot for women's CS. They've been awesome, very memorable tournaments. It's unfortunate to see it go, but also grateful for what it did. I assume there's financial reasons, and I have a lot of faith that other stuff is going to pop up in its place. So, I'm trying to stay optimistic about this situation. But let's dive in on the tournament itself. Let's start with Flyquest. Flyquest had a rough time in this tournament. Flyquest Red. They did good, but it was a rough run. They were eliminated immediately, or as immediately as they could be. They lost to Let Her Cook 10-13. Unlucky. This is just a best of one. Maybe it would have gone another way if it wasn't, but alas, it was a best of one, so it can only be what it was. BBon had a wonderful rating and also did well in their other game against Big Equipa, but it was just not enough to get them over the edge. So they were eliminated opening round BO1 and then the BO2 against Big Equipa, who would go on to win the whole tournament, granted. So, like, we can use that to sort of pad the feels here, but it was a bit of a stomp. Asher dominated. Once again, BBon did all right, but it did not go our way, and they weren't looking the sharpest. So there's definitely felt like a bit of a rough day for them. But on the other end of things, our girls in Sakura had quite a good tournament. Sakura, once again, is the previous Shimmer roster. They just got signed by Sakura. I believe it's the exact same roster, though. Fox and Empathy popped off all tournament. We got a win against Big Equipa, the tournament winners, avenging Flyquest Red down here. Best of one still, but hey, it's a win. It's Mirage. We take it. Then we took down Let Her Cook on Dust 2, qualifying for the playoffs, where unfortunately Sakura was dispatched to 0 by MIBR's female squad. It was a tough one. It wasn't a stomp, but it didn't look great either. But even despite this, Fox and Empathy are just looking so good. We were eliminated, but we put up a good fight. We came in, the third, fourth bracket? Yeah, third, fourth bracket with NIP Impact. We take those. And if you go to the stats page, you're going to see over here Fox and Empathy, right? Both in the 1 and 2 slots, Fox being our AWPer and Empathy our opener. Love these girls. They have been crushing it. 1.41 and 1.25 rating, even though we didn't make it any farther than that in the tournament. That is definitely something to be proud of. And we went out with pride. Got 2 American flags up there on this chart. Hell yeah. I'm very happy with how that went. And once again, it is sad to see this tournament go, but I have faith that more is going to come from this. Moving along, we have a local NA tournament. The Dust 2 US is kind of running alongside the major, but with the local folks. We have already qualified for the playoffs, Voca and Boss. This is to be expected. If I was going to just play favorites here, I would say Skinrave and Voca were probably the most likely to go 3-0 here, but Skinrave got taken down by Akimbo. Pretty big upset in the opening round, which is best of 3, I think this was, right? Yeah, so there's no BO1s here. This was a best of 3. Skinrave did not look as good as we wanted. Akimbo looked better than we wanted. I mean, assuming we're Skinrave fans, and it is what it is. I think they're going to be totally fine here. They play In Control next, which is a team that I feel like they know pretty well. I don't foresee them having too much problem here, and I do think they're going to qualify for the playoffs pretty easily. Boss, I am super proud of. I'm a big Boss fan. Slight has been performing, in my opinion, like maybe the best opper in NA right now, and has been like that for a while. Fruit Cup has been leveling his game up. I'm a big Fruit Cup fan. B Will's looking very strong in the opener roles, top in charts here. Love how this Boss is looking. They didn't have the hardest run, but still confident and impressive. And I'm really glad to see them going to the playoffs. And we'll see how that bracket kind of lays out and fleshes out. Match to watch, honestly, if you're watching, watch whatever you can. That's what I do. But Skinrave in Control is skippable. I would watch this Take Flight Phoenix game. Take Flight recently signed Louis, who is a NACS content creator. He's very big on the YouTubes. He's doing the internets real well. On top of that, he is on Take Flight now and is doing pretty good. I mean, he's not top fragging here, but Take Flight has definitely seems like they've leveled up a bit. Phoenix is a great team. They're, kind of becoming a bit of a staple. I believe this is ex-Chicken Coop Phoenix. They're been around the NACS scene. J-Chance obliterates me pretty often on the DM servers. It's a good team. I think this could be a really good match. Take Flight on the up, Phoenix doing their thing. I'm excited to see who qualifies off of this one right here. Also, I will probably be checking out the Ghost vs. Straight to Killing game. Did they actually play? No, I don't think they've played before. I'm a big Ghost fan. I love Emily. Love this roster. I'm excited to see how they do here. Keep your eye on this. This tournament goes very nicely with the Major because it basically takes place on every day the Major doesn't happen. So like this game will be taking place tonight and then the rest through Thursday. The Major starts back up again on Thursday. So it all kind of works out. They actually don't step on each other's toes too much, which makes me as a nerd very, very happy. Check that tournament out. Check out Take Flight on the up and up, and make sure to catch my boys Boss in the playoffs, which I assume are starting next week, but I don't think there's a firm schedule posted yet. That takes us through the local NA scene. That takes us through our NA girls at the final ESL Impact, RIP. And of course, we will now get to the biggest thing going on, which of course is the Star Ladder Budapest Major, currently in a pause, hitting the playoffs this Thursday. So I'm going to go through each team a little bit, and we can kind of just take a look at how NA and or NA orgs did at this major. So first, Flyquest bombed out of stage 2. It was rough. They didn't have the easiest run, right? Navi just decided to bit. Wonderful's been on a whole new level for himself. 3D Max is a solid team. Astralis is a solid team. The unfortunate thing really is Vexite here. I don't mean that Vexite's unfortunate. I like Vexite a lot. But he bottom fragged so hard. Coming off stage 1, he was the number 1 player, I believe, statistically in stage 1. And he's, I believe, the bottom player in stage 3. And they also went 3-0 and then 0-3. It's just an unfortunate total flip of the strip there. I put Vexite on my fantasy team even, trying to ride that hype train. He was also very cheap. But when I was watching stage 1 and looking at Vexite, I was like, a lot of these plays are just crazy. I was watching it and I was like, we can't expect him to get away with all of these plays for all of stage 2 as well. Not only because some of the competition is bigger, but also just you just can't get away with it that many times. I think it was a little sloppy. I'm not surprised to see him get punished more, but it is unfortunate to see it be so aggressive, punished. Next up, we got M80. M80 also out of stage 2. I wouldn't quite say they bombed out, though. They unfortunately made their final exit against Passion UA, NA on NA. Don't love it, but it's got to happen sometimes, especially, we had 3 NA teams here. I wish that they could have qualified beating this Imperial roster. And dude, so close. This is one of those situations where I think, like, if you look at it, M80 won more rounds over the course of 3 maps. But of course, that is not how the situation works. Yeah, M80 out of the tournament. I know this is still a good performance for them overall, making it to the final round of stage 2, but I really think there was a world where they made stage 3, which would have been a new record for them. And I think this game could have been it. I'm so proud of this win against Tyloo, right? Like, I really think we could have got there, but that's okay. There's always the next tournament, and I think it's quite likely we'll be seeing them in majors for the foreseeable future. All right, moving on. We have Liquid, who went on a pretty nice situation, right? They got to the elimination bracket, did the Faze crawl from 0 to hero, taking out some respectable rosters, eliminating MIBR here, eliminating Tyloo. Tyloo is definitely not a bad team. I think they're a little closer to Liquid than the chart shows, maybe even especially looking at this, but still a proud win. And then taking down Astralis is wonderful. That's right where we want to see Liquid going. Passion UA also qualifying for the next stage, and Faze going 3-0 on a crazy run where they took down Aurora. Once again, it's a BO1. We don't want to give them too much credit, just like you don't want to penalize them too much when they lose a best of 1. But nonetheless, beating Aurora on Dust 2 in this dominant a fashion is an amazing result for FaZe Clan. I am very, very proud of them for this, and they make it in the 3-0 bracket alongside Navi. So overall, this is great results for NA, right? It, of course, could have been better, but we're very happy. 1, 2, 3 teams going to the final stage. Wonderful. Looking at that final stage, we have Passion UA and Team Liquid and G2 getting eliminated. Now, this was kind of surprising to me. And we're going to touch on each of it. Liquid 0-3. That's bad, right? We're expecting more. They didn't have the easiest run, losing to Spirit and then the Mongols and then Passion UA. But 0-3, we don't really have a way to sugarcoat this. It was a poor performance from Liquid, and they really do need to sort of revisit the drawing board here. I think it's very likely they have some institutional issues. When you have a roster with this many star players, they've made changes. Everyone is in a role that they're comfortable with, like, and it's been that way before too. We had Yakind. We've seen so many top 20 names come through this Liquid roster and just disappoint. It's hard to not think that the finger needs to be pointed somewhere we can't see. You know what I mean? Somewhere up the ladder, an owner, a manager. And maybe I'm wrong, but when you're dealing with those like cursed org situations, a lot of the time it's something behind the scenes going on that we can't see, because it's like we're swapping the parts and there's just stagnant, So I do think something needs to happen there, and I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I would guess it's a little higher tier. G2 getting taken out, definitely a surprise. Losing to Falcons, not a surprise, but they had a crazy hard run, right? They take down Passion UA only to, where are they here? Right, and Pain, we can move past that. Only to hit the BO3s against Furia, whose peak is right now in this moment. And then losing to the Mongols, that's a bit of an upset, in my opinion, especially 0-2 fashion. They should have done better than that. And then losing to Falcons is fair, especially, they still take a map, but it's not ideal. G2 is a team we really wanted to see in the playoffs, and I'm not sure what they're going to do in the offseason with this. Is the answer just let it chill? I would say let it chill. Maybe replace Sun Pius with an offer that fits the team a little bit better. But there is definitely a concern that Heavy God could get scooped up. I don't know if he will. I haven't heard any rumors or anything. I'm just saying Heavy God's got to be one of the most desirable anchors in the world right now, and he's on a team that's kind of struggling, sitting in that like top 10 spot with a top 2, anchor, certainly a top 20 player of the year. I would not be surprised to see him get scooped up if his contract is coming to an end. Faze does amazing, being the only NA team that is going to qualify for the playoffs. They make it in. They have a bit of a tough go, but they actually have a bit of an easy run. But the start of it is tough, and they obliterate Vitality in that first round. Incredible performance from Frozen. Twist as always, and Jacob really starting to come into his own in those opener spots. I'm a little surprised too that it was Nuke where all of this goes down, because I consider Nuke to be one of the better maps for Vitality. But, here we are. Faze take them down 13-7 pretty convincingly. They go on to the next round and get beat by Spirit. Donk is activated right now. Faze losing to Spirit. Not a problem. Is what it is. We're okay with that. Going into the next bracket, losing to Mongols is maybe a bit of an upset, but it is what it is. And then we take out 3D Max, who have been kind of tricky to get a read on, and then Passion UA at the end to qualify. It's a medium run. I don't have huge expectations from this. In fact, I think Spirit is going to win this major. I don't see Faze able to take down Mouse right now. I think it's going to be Mouse versus Furia. I think Mongols are going to upset Vitality. I think they're low-key kind of cooking with this no Senzu roster. I'd rather have Senzu back for them, but I think they've got upset potential. Either way, I think Spirit is probably going to clear this, although Vitality could upset them. And then I think if it will get to be Furia here. I think if it winds up Vitality, Furia will win. I think if it winds up Spirit, Spirit will win. That is my prediction for this. And I think this is going to go Maz, Furia. So that is what is coming up in the major. And this picks back up at the playoffs Thursday, right here. Watch it. This is going to be such a heater of a game. This rivalry, for lack of a better word, has history. Thursday is going to be a blast, and the grand final will go down on Sunday. You can bet I will be watching that live. That is going to be so fun. Moving along, we have what do we have next? Sorry, I got to check my notes. So I'm a bit rushed today, so I apologize for that. I did a filming of the episode earlier in the day, actually, and unfortunately the audio was messed up. My new headset had some sort of bug, so set me back a little bit. But, I'd like to hit our new weekly segment, the ever-evolving and never-existing NA super team of your dreams. This is a segment where we go through the 5 standard roles in a team and put an NA player into a slot. Has to be an NA player, and we slot them into each of the 5 roles: your opener, entry fragger, your key space maker, your IGL, of course, your opper, your anchor/support. Interchangeable names there is how we're going to treat it, but they are the anchor player, playing a lot of those tougher positions, especially on defense. And then the closer, who is your other extremity player, but usually more of a rotating extremity player, often more of a star. Starting with the closer, we got to give it to Twist Faze. Twist has just been incredible, performing out of his mind. Where would Faze be without Twist right now? He's just a rock. For the op in the opener, we are going to go to Boss. For both of these players, we are going to go to Slight and B Wills, who have just been popping off in the Dust 2 tournament. Slight has been a top tier opper in these NA tournaments for quite a while now, and he definitely deserves this placement. And B Wills, I wouldn't say he's like a top NA opener, but he's been growing in the role. And in this particular tournament, on this group stage run where they're going 3-0, he's just looking incredible. He's looking really comfortable. I don't know if that's time, if it was just a good tournament for him, if this is, time and growth. I hope that it is, and we keep seeing this in the playoffs in Dust 2. So I take both of these guys as my opener opper combo. For support, we have to go with Team Liquid's Naf. He is just one of the best anchors in the world. Even with this, pardon my language, abysmal run from Liquid in stage 3 of the major, where they go 0-3. Look at this, right? Okay, don't look at that. That's not pretty. Look at this, right? We're getting stomped. Naf, 1.11. Naf, 1.14. Even in these losses on a 0-3 run, NAF is putting up numbers above what you expect out of an anchor on a win. You know what I mean? So like these are tier 1 games at a major, at LAN, in anchor positions, on a losing streak, losing the games, and still putting those numbers up. I am a NAF believer. I got to say, I was critical of him earlier in the year, but we are Team NAF, and there's no anchor we could pick other than him for this. And last but not least, mini hot take for IGO, we are going with Snav from Voka. Snav has been looking very sharp. He's been putting up great numbers as an individual performer. Here 0.86, not bad for an IGL. Here 1.86, absolutely insane for an IGL, and then 1.15. He's been putting up good numbers. His calls look good. Voka with Snav at the helm remain a huge threat on Ancient, where they've just been so dominant that it almost like forces teams to try to dodge it. And their other maps have been fleshing out too. So Snav has been really crushing it. This team, dude, if you put this team together, this team could do some real damage wherever they wind up, right? B-Will's opener, Snav IGL, Twist, your firepower guy as the closer rotator, Op, Slight, huge firepower in X Factor, and then Naf the Rock on anchor duties. Trust that team. I'm cooking, y'all. Trust me. That team would get shit done. That is our NA Super Team of the week. And then before we have to go, let's just take a quick look at the weeks ahead. The weeks ahead, we are going to have more Dust 2 NA matches. They are going to be tonight through this Thursday. Highly recommend going to HLTV, watch those Dust 2 games, especially the Phoenix versus Take Flight one we highlighted earlier. And then Thursday through Sunday is going to be the major playoffs and grand finals taking place. Obviously, there are some much-watched games there. We're going to be rooting for Faze, even though I didn't pick them in my pick'ems. My gut says Mouse, but we are still rooting for Faze. See how far they can get. Enjoy the major anyway, and I'm very much looking forward to this off-season, hearing more about this 100 Thieves roster, seeing where a lot of these wild card players are going. Changes on Passion UA, I think, are in the works. G2, maybe a little shakeup. M80, they should lock it in. There's a lot to come. There's going to be a lot of news, a lot of drama, even after we finish covering the major. So please stick around. And that was This Week in NACS. Keep the energy high, keep the scene alive, and always remember, y'all, to stay safe and stay planted. Thank you sincerely for tuning in and supporting, and we will see you on the server. Thank you very much.